are on. Hello, and my name is Efren Molina, EJ Molina, and this is The Musical Way, a show about musical education, art, music performance, and life in general. I am a music teacher and a piano instructor for elementary to early advanced levels. Focus on that niche because growing up, when I was a kid, my teachers were not really that good. They were great performers, they were great musicians, but they were not able to teach me properly. Listening to the Clair de Lune, to Moonlight Sonata, listening to Mozart, listening to Für Elise, a few tunes that stuck to me and that I always wanted to play them. I always have that illusion of being able to play it. In terms of whether I was able to do it or not able to do it, my first experience was when I tried to attend Conservatory of Music. I was about 16 years old, and they told me that I was too old, and I was too old to apply, and they turned me down. And I believed it. I believed it, and I went on to look for other degrees and all stuff, all different things. But one thing that I find is that you are born with that urge to do something specific, something that is within your soul. In this case, to me, it was very clear. Somebody asked me when I was about 7 years old, what did I want to be when growing up? And I said, whether a subway driver, subway train driver, or a musician. And I did not become a subway train driver. Someone told me something that I couldn't do, and I believed it. Now, looking back, I played piano for a number of years when I was younger, but again, with not very good teachers, and they affected me negatively. So as I welcome you to my practice, I'm telling you that after I went to school, I went to graduate, I had a bachelor's degree in music at University of the Americas in Mexico, in Puebla, wonderful degree. But at that point, when I graduated, I have to say I didn't know much yet. So even the 4 years that I took in the bachelor's program for music, it wasn't enough. It wasn't. This particular industry, just like becoming a lawyer or becoming a doctor or becoming a dentist or becoming a mechanic, or it comes down in the end to a skill. At some point, if you practice law, you're going to have to go on to cases and defend clients and win. And you're not going to win it all, but you're going to have to go through those motions. So if you just did the minimum to pass and just to get the diploma, by the time that reality strikes and you need to perform and you need to show your skill and demonstrate it, there's nothing going to be there. You're going to be mediocre. You're probably not going to get hired, and you're going to end up doing something else that is unrelated. So if you're going to study music, you want to focus on the foundation, and you're going to focus on developing that skill. When I graduated from my bachelor's degree and I moved to the U.S. to start teaching, I found myself in a graduate program that really stumped me in the beginning, because I realized that I did not have enough skill to match up with what was around me. And I'm talking about performers in general, performing and teachers at the graduate school. So when I finally hit reality was that I was teaching a bunch of students, and then we had the first recital. It's one of the music centers that I used to teach in Florida, in Weston, Florida. They used to rent this huge auditorium, and so the pressure was pretty big, because you can tell me anything you want. You do something behind closed doors, in your desk, in your computer, at your home, you do it well, and that's great. But when you face an audience, then everything falls apart, especially if you're not well prepared. But stage fright I think we all have it. I think we, in the end, talking in front of people and convincing people and selling stuff and teaching stuff and demonstrating stuff in public, it's particularly taxing, because you drop 50% from where you are. So even if you think you're at 100%, you're going to end up going on in public and playing 50%. The goal is to play 100%. So the equation turns into, if you want to play 100%, you have to prepare yourself 200%, because by the time that you get to the stage, you are going to be safe as long as you are over prepared. When I faced the reality of the recitals, I realized that the way you measure a teacher's ability to teach is by looking at the recitals, looking at their students. How do they perform during the recitals? It is not bad if you make the occasional mistake and, a little boo-boo here and there, But it is bad if you enter the stage and you just plain collapse in the middle of the piece, in the middle of whatever you're playing, you just can't finish it. But I've seen people walk out in tears because of the frustration and the fear. It becomes frightening, and your body doesn't cooperate with you, because when you get nervous, you start shaking. And obviously, if your hands are shaking, it's very hard to play the piano like that. That reaction of your body, it comes from being unprepared. You're just not prepared enough to do what you're trying to do. Stage fright is something that you can defeat. You can overcome it by preparing properly, by learning to study. So I found myself in that position that now it doesn't matter how I play, it doesn't matter what I know. What it matters is how do my students perform when they show up for the recitals? How do they do? Did they succeed? Did they have an enlightening experience, or it was a devastating experience? So that's what I realized at that point. So that gonna narrow a lot of teachers, because to tell you the truth, I haven't seen a recital where some student wows me, at their level, whatever level that is. It can be the very first lessons in primer level. If you're at that level, you should be able to perform at that level. I've seen probably one or two students that play decent. I'm gonna say decent. It's dramatic because it just tells me that there's a lot of people out there that you really don't know how to teach. So that was one thing. I realized that to be an effective teacher, a music teacher in my field, you have to be able to prepare your students for that recital. Okay, we are progressing. There has to be progress. There's no other way. In anything that you do, you start studying, and it has to be some progress. There has to be some progress. That was my first goal. I need to figure out a way to teach my students how to perform within their level correctly, and not only that, I don't want them nervous. I mean, there's a little bit of nervousness always, but if you are convinced and you're well prepared, it doesn't matter. You're going to get in the flow state at that age, because that's what you've been practicing over and over and over, and you've been doing all these different drills and activities to prepare you for that. I also realized another thing, that you have to walk the walk yourself. So it wasn't enough for me to have my students do that. When I organized private recitals, I offered to play at the end of the recital. After my students go, then I would go and play. I feel like it's my responsibility. I feel like if I'm the piano teacher of your kids and we have a recital and your kids play, I think that the parents are going to be expecting you to play as well and show up. You don't have to play something spectacular. You don't have to play Rachmaninoff piano concerto, but you can play a decent first movement of a sonata or even a sonatina, Clementi sonatina, Scarlatti sonatina, a first movement. If you graduated from music school, you're prepared to do that and more. This realization was frightening to me. One day I was sitting in my apartment getting ready for a recital. I already put it in the program that I was going to play Piano Sonata X, Mozart first movement, Allegro. And I was already in it. And I was a couple, 2-3 days away from it. And I was struggling a little bit. And then I panicked a little bit because I figured, look, I can't collapse. In music school you can because you're a student and everyone expects you to. But when you are a music teacher, owner of a piano studio, or you're the head of the practice, well, that's not a possibility. I mean, a random mistake here and there maybe, but just to collapse, no. You are defending your reputation at that point, and that is critical. Demonstrate control and demonstrate artistry and demonstrate what's up. That's what you need to be thinking about. In these following 3 days, I'm going to repeat this piece by sections, following a very specific method that is the one that I teach my students. I'm going to repeat it 100 times. So get back from work, 8 p.m., 7 p.m. My wife went to bed, and I was repeating 30 times. Sounds easy, but sonata, that type of piece that lasts about 3-4 minutes in length, to be able to repeat it that amount of time, it's going to take you about 2 to 3 hours, and a lot of patience, because it's not easy. And then the next day I did the same, and then I remember I did gather 100 repetitions. And then when I showed up to the recital, yes, I was a little bit nervous, but it was a breeze. I was well prepared. I knew my piece. I spent time on each part of my pieces, enough, more than enough. I knew my piece up and down, and I performed it great. I was completely safe. I did prepare myself 200%, so I played it 100%. So 2 things that I learned over the years for teaching and teaching piano. It's one, that you have to teach that skill to your students so they show up for a recital and they play a piece successfully. Sounds easy, right? Number 2, you have to show up yourself. You have to show up and play and demonstrate, because by doing that, you're showing that your methods work. You're showing that you are a goal that your students are pursuing, and you're a goal that the parents of your students are also pursuing. I want my kid to grow up and play like that, or be like that, or even better. That's what I'm looking for. But if I don't have a model, so all my methods are developed and intended to accomplish that, to close the gap in between the music school and the person that doesn't know anything, to be able to close that gap right there. That's my mission. That's the mission of my practice. Music education is possible. It is not an extra. It's not something that you can just do a few times and then it's going to bear results. It's something that needs time and needs the proper instruction and foundation. It's a group of things that you have to accomplish, and a steady walk with them all the way through, and give it time and develop it over the years to be able to do it. Okay? It's great for the brain development. It's great for your cognitive development. It's great for your personality. It's great for your life in general. It's something that is worth doing. It's important to focus on that foundation and be sure that you have a teacher that can prove to you that when it comes to the recitals, that you're going to be able to perform and you're going to be able to be prepared. And the goal is to be able to perform correctly at your level, and also know the language, all the notation elements, the note values, what the notes are, what the rhythms are, and then be able to perform it, sit properly, understand how the mechanics work, how to protect your hands and your arms from getting injured, and so forth. My name is Efren Molina, I'm EJ Molina. This is The Musical Way, and I'll see you in the next video.